The message today seems like an energetic weather report. There might be some disruption in the sense where I do see Spirit wanting a critical reframe for those who it resonates with. It's not going to be like an abstract or floaty kind of reading. It's really going to narrow in on specific aspects of what's going on with you in real time. That's kind of how I see this message unfolding. There's 3 energetic containers here, so I'll probably sort this message according to those. And you can watch the section that fits with how you're feeling in real time. Although I do always encourage you all to watch the other parts, just because I think for this particular message, I'm seeing these groups overlap timelines. So you might experience someone else's timeline and message at a different time. It's not that you're just in that one container indefinitely. There's connection between all of you at different points. So I see this being helpful for the present tense, but like I said, time has no bounds. So there's 3 groups here, 3 containers that I'm being presented. The first one is those who are feeling anxious and unfocused at the current time they're watching this video. The second group is for those who feel lonely and bored at the time of watching this video. And then this last group, which is the outlier here, I think is for those who feel hopeful, but also tired. That one's going to be interesting. I don't know if I need more specification on who this is for. I sense that is the sum up. Those are the lines. There's a little pause here, like I shouldn't be adding more details to fill in who this is meant for. It's supposed to just pull you in with the weight of those emotions and that current reality, that current feeling for you. So if any of those align with you, then this message may be for you. This first part speaks to those who are feeling both anxious and unfocused. There's a part of this that's pointing to your body, your physical body, and your health directly. I sense there could be something going on with the body at this time, or something you're really aware of with your physical being. This could also just be telling me that you're unaware of your physical body at this time, or something that I need to point at for you. It could be that you've changed your routine, your habits, your regimens in some way. I kind of see this pointing at the anxiety tied to that change in some way. This could be like a chicken or egg situations, like maybe the anxiety led you to start the new routine or regimen, or you started this new routine and this new regimen, and then you became anxious as a result. Both are applicable here, and both are a part of this. Or maybe health just isn't even on your mind at this time, and there's something I need to point at for you specifically, or connect with this anxious feeling. This one's kind of odd. This one coming up is grounding and walking barefoot at this time could be really, really beneficial to some of you. I'm going to leave, I think, what looks like a direction to sources, to scientific resources for you. And the reason I feel called to do that, which maybe will feel odd to some of you, is like, okay, I know what grounding is, but a lot of you might not. And there's sometimes a warning in messages because there's some intellectual beings that watch my content and they're maybe unsure of the woo-woo. They're maybe a little bit, I don't know if I really believe all this. And so sometimes it's nudged to me to help support in scientific, logical, cerebral data for those types of beings to help support them to the woo-woo. Especially with grounding, there's a lot of scientific evidence. There's a lot of studies that exist. And so I will be leaving that in the description for my cerebral, logical, unsure individuals here today. So check the description for more on that. I will always leave little notes in there for you. Okay, so what keeps coming through in your message today specifically is this direction of self-trust, this need for development of self-trust. And I don't know if that's something you're actively mindful of at this time in your healing journey. It could be that you know or are aware that your anxiety is possibly a direct result from that lack of self-trust, or that I need to point that out to you today. What I see here from the energy connection is it seems you could be spending a lot of your time spinning in things outside of your control, which is that's the definition of anxiety. I know. But the reason this is happening, the source, the direction point of that spinning is coming from that lack of self-trust that I'm going to explain to you a little bit more here. It's almost like your worry, your anxiety is a mechanism to prepare for a time in the future where you feel you won't be able to handle that situation. So you're like playing events in your head of preparing for that feeling of, I can't handle this. And your body is almost an autopilot doing this. It's preparing for a time you feel you can't handle, which is directly coming from that deeper inability to trust yourself in that situation. And so your message today is about re-strengthening inner trust to alleviate these symptoms we're talking about here, which is the anxiety, which is the lack of focus. I might do a later subliminal for this group. If you're interested, let me know when I have time. I think that it could be really helpful for the self-trust inability here, but the lack of focus is also directly connected to this lack of self-trust, this inability to really believe that you could handle those situations, those circumstances, whatever they are for you. And so you're kind of like spinning in the unknown. You're replaying circumstances, you're generating circumstances to protect yourself from that unknown that you feel you can't handle. You're preparing your body, your mind, your soul for this time you believe that you won't be able to handle what happens to you in the unknown future. Where this is connecting to your inability to focus at this time, if that's something you're really, I guess, upset about, it's looking like frustrated, it's looking like upset, it's looking like annoyed. What's happening here is because you're replaying these situations, these scenarios in your head, these like simulations of yourself in the future. And it's exhausting you to the point where outside of that anxiety, outside of creating those simulations for that unknown circumstance, things cannot be narrowed in on because you're generating so many simulations in your brain with this anxiety. So it's almost like you can't focus on anything else because your anxiety about the future is taking up all that bandwidth. Your simulations, you're preparing for this uncertainty is taking up all the space that you have. So the message here is to reframe when you get that anxiety, to reclaim that focusing energy back to self. Directly stopping those mental loops from happening is what looks like is needed here. I don't know if I want to necessarily say meditation, although obviously, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that. If meditation isn't helping and you're aware that you need to get a grip on these thoughts but can't, on these loops but can't, the message for you is it's self-trust. It's related to trusting that you'll be able to handle those outcomes more than it is controlling the thoughts themselves. Even if you don't feel certain that you will be able to handle those circumstances, whatever it is you're spinning about, whatever it is you have anxiety about, I think this is a fake it until you make it kind of proposal from spirit. Like, play out the worst case in your head, go through those simulations like you normally do, but you're reframing them, you're stopping them because you're going to settle in your mind that you will trust that if you get there, you will be able to work it out. You will be able to handle it no matter what. So that is the stopping mechanism that's being shown here today. It's kind of like you trust in manifestations, you're kind of doing what you should be doing here is you're trusting that the universe will just give it to you. You're trusting that it will all work out. Now apply that to yourself. When you get anxiety about an unknown, when you get anxiety about a situation that keeps you spinning, you just need to stop and say, whatever will happen, I will be able to handle it at that time. And I know that that's easier said than done, but there's just a message here to connect those points for you so you can see that connection point and then could eventually resolve itself in the future after you understand that connection point. Those who don't struggle with a lot of anxiety about the future have just more self-trust, and self-trust isn't something you're like born with. It's just something you practice. You just, when you get into those spinning loops, you kind of just say, okay, but whatever happens, I will figure it out. And that's silencing those loops, and that's reclaiming your focusing energy that I see Spirit here wants you to see the connection for. The second part here speaks to those who feel both lonely and bored. There's a lot in this one, so I see two distinct parts we're going to have to unpack with these feelings in particular. The first part here is a direction to what looks like stimulus, and that is very, very clear. This is shown in a lot of different shapes for the different people. So there's a lot of outlets in which stimulus is being used. You could be the type that is always having something in the background, meaning like a video is always playing, you're listening to music, you have headphones in. Whenever you go out, there's always noise in your field. There's always some stimulus here. I see directing your energy. And I don't see it being a bad thing. So I hope you don't take this first half of me being like, destroy all stimulus. No, I see this being tied to explaining the stimulus in your field first and foremost. Like spirit wants to highlight the connection to you so you have an understanding that the stimulus is there. But I see the fluctuation between two states here. Like one is the stimulus flooding your dopamine receptors, and just this feeling of boredom that's coming is kind of like a signal space. It is saying that it's flooded. It is saying that there's too much, and that is your signal. Is boredom is just kind of like showing up to tell you it's flooded, which seems to contradict itself, right? Like you would think you wouldn't experience boredom because you would be so stimulated, but I get the sense that the boredom is a flooded signal. And let me explain that. I sense that when you get these feelings of like boredom or loneliness, you kind of want to escape them in some way. And I feel that's very natural. That's very human. And that's why the stimulus is kind of showing up in this reading, is the boredom isn't sitting well with the collective here. And I'm not saying to remove dopamine because stimulus is inevitable in today's world. So that's not the direction of this. I think the connection here is explaining when you get to a place where you cannot experience joy from anything, like the things you normally would be stimulated with are no longer providing pleasure. For example, music, videos, whatever you used to do, and now you're doing it and you're not experiencing joy from that anymore. That's kind of the symptom of your dopamine receptors being flooded. It's like a flare. So it's not that the stimulus is bad inherently. It's that when it no longer is working, that is a flooded symptom. And that is the connection point I'm meant to guide you to today here. So the practical and specific step, the no BS part of this message is like, so you're like, okay, I'm flooded. What do I do? When you get to those places of feeling like nothing gives you joy and pleasure anymore, it's very practical. Instead of finding a new outlet, which I kind of see you here going between different outlets to try to soothe this boredom, to try to soothe this, okay, this one's not working. This one's not giving me pleasure. Let me go to this one. It's kind of exacerbating the flood. And so you've gotten to a place to where it's not only boredom, the lack of interest into the normal pleasures that you would normally have is a symptom of you needing to witness the boredom, not escape the boredom. And that might sound like terrible. And I don't mean this to be like you're sitting on the floor and you're watching the wall. I see this more as like a message of it's just asking you to feel the boredom, to feel that nothing is giving you pleasure in this current time, and to witness it instead of trying to solve it with a new outlet, because the flooded symptom is a direct response to too much. It wants to be witnessed. And that's why it's taking away pleasure from all outlets at this time. It's not that it's going to last forever. It's just demanding it be witnessed at that point. Now, the loneliness is also connected here to this stimulus, this flooded space, but it has its own message here. And that's what makes your message, I think, a little bit longer, a little bit more detailed, is there's a lot of fantasy here that I see from you where you desire a special person. And that could apply to everybody. Like we all want our soulmate. We all want our special person. That's life. That's being human. But where it's different for you is you are focused on finding that best friend. Obviously, you don't want to spend more time alone. Very natural, very normal. And this also might be because I see like connections around you don't fully see you. They're very kind of like shallow and they're not meeting you at your depths. So there's that part of this, which is very practical. Like it's just a matter of no one's meeting you at how deep you are. It just kind of seems like you're in a space looking for what seems to be a refuge, what seems to be a safe haven. And I need to kind of explain that to you. Going hand in hand is this fantasy for you is about this person who comes and holds you. And really what it is deep down is you are able to, at that point, put down a few things for a second while they hold a few things for you. So the desire isn't really about a soulmate. The desire is really tied to a deeper wanting of someone who can hold the weight that you've been carrying for so long. It's not about a soulmate. It's not about finding your best friend, although I see you do want that. This particular loneliness in these spaces that you're experiencing now and maybe have repetitively experienced are more about how much you carry emotionally, energetically. And the stimulus energy also might be related to how much you carry. You want to kind of like put down stuff and distract in some way. But this loneliness feeling is more tied to carrying, overcarrying, and wanting to seek shelter in that carrying weight. And I think Spirit here wants you to hear how much weight you actually hold and wants to direct that into showing you can be a refuge for yourself. You can be a shelter for yourself. And I feel like that's going to sound so silly to some. Hear me out. I know. Like, aren't you saying I hold a ton? And now you're saying I must hold the holding of that ton? And no, I know how it sounds. It's more of like self-regulation, but with energy. It's asking you to put things down instead of seeking refuge with another person. It's asking you to be your own refuge in the sense where when you need shelter, you give it to yourself. That looks like specifically putting stuff down and saying, I don't have to be strong right now, because that's exactly what you would look for in this other person to ease your loneliness. Is the fantasy looks to be tied around this person, this being saying to put down your stuff and saying, you don't have to be strong, I'll be strong. But they wouldn't necessarily in this fantasy do more. They wouldn't do anything physically. It's just more about the weight you hold and the energy that you place on that weight. You want to just find shelter. And that's where this fantasy keeps popping up for you, is the loneliness is just about where is my shelter? I don't have one. So energetically, I kind of just see becoming your own shelter in these moments of loneliness could be a really helpful thing here, because this fantasy isn't about the soulmate. The desire for the soulmate is separate to this. I see that energy. This is different. This is about wanting you to see you need more moments of being like, okay, I don't need to hold everything. I can not be strong right now. You don't have to hold everything all the time. You can literally break down. You can be not strong sometimes. And that's not weakness. And I kind of see, whether you're conscious or not, you don't want to have that weakness. So you kind of push it away. You kind of either partake in these stimuluses or you get this ping of loneliness that you want to fill with this fantasy. So the stimulus and otherwise is like escaping. It's tied to what looks like you always feeling you need to be strong or else something is wrong. And really you can just let that all go. And the shelter that you can find in yourself is saying, okay, I don't have to be strong all the time. I can literally just break down. And that would help alleviate these signals that you're getting in some way. All right, the last but not least is those who feel an interesting mix of tiredness but hopefulness for the future. This part is for you. This group is really the outlier of this reading, the outlier energy that stands out because you just have a different energetic frequency at this time than the other two groups. What stands out first is I kind of see burnout or tendencies of burnout in the energetic makeup here, but it can show through in different ways. Like you might be more prone to burnout and you might have learned skills to navigate that, or you might just be one of the rare few who has always known your limitations and you don't overcompensate, but the burnout theme is important because of the awareness tied to it. I don't really know how to say this part, but I don't know if you're really going to like today's message, and not because it's bad or negative or anything like that. I just need to preface it by saying it seems you might be the type to believe if you don't think hopeful thoughts, you're claiming negative energy, or you might have believed that in the past. There's something here tied to you protecting your space of negativity very strongly. So This won't be negative. I don't see this being a negative message, but I do see it might disrupt the peace in which you maintain your field in so strongly, or the perceived peace here, which you very strictly defend. So I have to give the disclosure to prepare you in some way that there might be a slight disruption. It's not going to be negative, nothing bad. Just keep an open mind here, as it might be a little bit uncomfortable to hear this message, as it does disrupt a little bit for you. The perception of peace that you hold very tightly may require sometimes that you hear a little bit more neutral or less positive information, but you might be prone to either seeking out positivity or maintaining positivity very strongly, which are not bad, just different than how this message is going to be framed. For you, what exists in your field currently is a intense focus on anticipating change that you have in mind upcoming. You seem to be very optimistic, positive about your future, which of course the message isn't going to say anything about that, I don't think. It's more of just focusing on you in this anticipation state of the future rather than talking about your future itself and what you get. You're in a space where you feel strongly change is coming. You're on the precipice of something. You feel that so deeply. I can really feel that here, is like you are just ready. And it's not wrong. Again, I don't think this is going to either confirm or deny the blessings you feel coming, but I do feel also hopeful for your future in this optimistic energy as well. I feel what you anticipate is not wrong. This message is really interesting because what it's saying is it's inviting you to sit in the space you're in without anticipation for a brief moment. And I see that might be weird for a few of you who hold tightly that anticipation is bringing you closer to this thing in some way, like you're feeling into it, you're almost manifesting in a way by feeling the energy of it, feeling the positivity of it. And you don't want to give that up because, it's your hope, and hope is everything. And this message isn't saying to throw away hope or to be pessimistic. It's more so saying by forecasting and feeling into your future so heavily like you're kind of skipping where you're at now and bypassing feeling the now fully. And why this is important is I kind of see when you get your outcome, when you get this bright, optimistic abundance that you are wanting and desiring, it kind of looks like you will actually miss this past energy, this energy you're in right now, because you didn't get to fully sit and experience it because you were what looks like so absorbed with anticipating the future blessing to come or the future abundance that you are feeling into so strongly. By anticipating and focusing on this future feeling that you are feeling so strongly tied to, you are forgetting to feel into the now, at least even slightly. I see what's so interesting is, again, when you get that thing, when you get that feeling, you reminisce on the past. You spend your time feeling like you didn't get to experience your now, and you're kind of like in a reminiscing energy. And I kind of see this being a call to possible avoidance of your current state by these two examples. It's not just now. It seems to be showing that even in the future, when you get this thing, you're focused on the past as well. It's more of like an avoidance to whatever exists currently, even if subtly, even if not that extreme. It doesn't matter what abundance or blessings you get. It really matters that you're either tied to anticipating for something in the future or reminiscing for something in the past. And there's like a slight avoidance here for the now. And so that's where I kind of gave the disclaimer for this message, is like, nobody wants to hear that they're slightly avoidant. I'm pretty sure that's not a super optimistic message, and keep an open mind here because it's not saying anything's wrong with this. It's just a call from spirit, I think, and a connection point to your signal, which is tiredness, that I think is the main message here. And so this tiredness that you're experiencing, it looks like a repetitive tendency, right? Like what I talked about at the beginning, where burnout is quicker. It's something you've closely learned to manage. There's a chronic tiredness, either a tendency or something that cannot be fully resolved. And it's connecting to this point of avoidance for the now that spirit is calling to you today to look at. Is this avoidance for the now is creating what looks like a really tired psyche. The psyche relies on the current time to process past and future emotions. It is incredibly smart, intelligent. It does this cool thing, like, for example, when you anticipate a big move, it sometimes purges the past to prepare you for that relocation. So it is highly evolved. It is incredibly perceptive to the situations you perceive. But this tiredness here for you comes from the psyche's moving around with you in your avoidance of the now. It's moving to past and present. It's toggling with you. And when you focus on the past, it works through past pain. When you focus on the present, it shifts gears and prepares you for that outcome. It's shifting with you. It's adaptable. And so the psyche really needs presence in the now to work through things and unfold with the current energy. But it looks like in ways you've kind of overridden that psyche's natural processing tendency, if that makes any sense. And this is why spiritual teachers kind of preach by living in the now, because generally it's more healthy for processing deep psyche, subconscious depths. It is a natural rhythm. It unfolds with the current energy rather than you self-directing your wants and desires to past and future outcomes. And so I think really your message today is Spirit is highlighting this tiredness, this reoccurring theme for you is really tied to self-direction of the psyche rather than just like fully surrendering to the now where it could naturally process things as the energy unfolds. What do you guys think of me rebranding this to Salt Talks? The chaotic outro that I first experimented with, but then everybody loved, so I kept doing it. This is where I kind of just ramble. Someone said in a comment recently that this section, this Salt Talks section, let me know about the name. I don't know if I really like that one, but they said it feels like a reverse comment, like I'm commenting to you. And that felt so accurate. You guys give me so much in the comments. I feel all of you. And this is like my comment to you. This is like you feeling into me like I feel into you. And so it is kind of honoring to share myself in the way you guys share yourself to me. I also really like how it's not disrupting the energy or responding or favoriting certain comments over others. And so I appreciate how it's not creating like outliers in my downloads or disrupting the quality in that way. What do I want to talk about? I don't even know. This is what's dangerous about these outros is really they're just going to be long, incoherent thoughts. No cards in front of me, just me and my brain. I guess I want to start by saying the love you guys gave on my last video was so emotional for me. I don't know how you guys do it sometimes, but it's like, you know exactly what to send to me when I need it. And I do feel like it's reciprocated because I send you perhaps what you need in moments and you do the same for me. Another reciprocation is like, I learn from you all probably more than what I teach from Spirit is like, you guys were right about the teaching thing, how it's not really coming from a place of authority or anything like that. I think this is reciprocation is I learn more from you than what I even give to you, I think. And I feel all mushy for you guys today. So I'm just going to say I'm thankful and then we'll move on because I know I'm overly gushing. What else? Don't want to spend too long on that. Make it awkward. Let's see. What else? I guess, okay, this one might be, do I want to talk about this? I don't know. This one might be loaded, but I do want to express, and I have for a while, that something I get a lot on this channel, a lot of energy that's sent my way is people telling me basically I'm a contradiction. And it's usually followed by like lovely, loving words like narcissism or my IQ and its lower status. But one thing I get a lot is when I post a disruption video that you guys are all pretty familiar with by this point, I'll get called or told I'm a contradiction for the disruption. Like, for example, when I post something about, tarot readers not being ethical or not caring or keeping you stuck, but then I'm a tarot reader, things like that. And I don't want to spend this time explaining to you myself. I know a lot of you are very protective of me, like I am of you. And so you'll tell me to not explain myself. You'll tell me I shouldn't over explain. You'll tell me this is my channel and to just tell them to get lost. But what I do feel compelled to explain to you today is my perspective on it, not to explain myself, not to explain how I'm not a contradiction. I think when I post things calling out tarot readers, holding them to a higher standard of consciousness, or telling you that you're stuck in a hope altar, and kind of like shattering your illusions. You may see that I follow what looks like perhaps similar structures in some of my older readings, or you'll call out some gray areas that exist within me, make me the point of the video rather than the actual content. And I want to say that what really this is a reflection of my duality and what I'm actually called to do here, which is very different than other readers online. I think people might misinterpret duality as a contradiction. And so today, especially with political standing, the way the world kind of functions, is you kind of feel you must pick a side. Like you must be like black and white, and you must stand by your beliefs fully for them to matter. And as a reader, that black and white energy is probably the least helpful way that I could serve you, that I could channel for you. I'm called to be a reader that removes bias, that removes black and white thinking and my human tendencies and beliefs. And that comes from embodying duality, being able to approach multiple collective people in different timelines and speak to them accordingly. And on the outside, I think what happens here is this looks like a contradiction, but what it really is me meeting multiple places at once. Me not being black and white. And so I think there's a lot of room to open perspective to duality. From what I read and feel from the collective, is a lot of the collective is black and white. A lot of the energy is extreme in nature. So really my duality, my ability to not be black and white, to be able to, let's say, for example, speak to someone who is in a super conscious state of being, and then also someone who's in a less conscious state of being and very stuck, and speak to both of them. That is my gift as a reader. That is what I'm called to do here, which is not like anything that exists online, because duality isn't really supported. The algorithm wants mass appeal. Mass appeal is an extreme approach, and sticking by that. And also it's more than just the algorithm. It's like the world as a whole. Like we pick sides. Bipartisan politics is a thing. So basically, in other words, to summarize my rambles today, I meet people where they are. I don't stick to a black and white place. I'm not in a rigid reader. I'm not reading from a rigid place for serving one subset of the population. I don't know if this kind of like clarifies this to some. I don't know if that was my intent. I do think people listening to me now are the ones that have never believed that I was a contradiction. They kind of saw me in my wholeness and for who I really was. And the ones who did see the contradiction probably left a long time ago. They took that assumption and they ran with it because they can't see duality, as where I believe that those who are here are more open to that duality, to that gray area thinking, that nuance thinking. But if I still have people here that were like confused, this is my thoughts on it. And maybe new readers can hear that as well as they start viewing my disruptive content and being like, what? Maybe this will be helpful for you. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts on this. Another thing is to keep leaving comments. If you are new here, comments are how I channel for you more efficiently. Think of this as like an energetic nudge. It helps me kind of meet you where you are. It doesn't have to be your life experience in the comments for everyone to see. You can also email me, whatever is comfortable for you. It doesn't need to be a lot. It can be very, very minimal. And my love for all of you is just friggin' ridiculous at this point, I believe. So cheers, friends.